Well, I think number one, I'm so happy for him, and just the way he's worked, and shot onto the scene a couple years ago, and just kind of came in and made an immediate impact as a rookie, playing nickel and doing things like that, and then to see him a couple years after that with all the pick sixes, and just I'm so happy for him and his family. He's a dad now, which I think is great, and I talked to him about it, and just he's such a humble young man, but so well deserved, and again, just one of those guys that you love him as a teammate, you love him as a competitor. Doesn't say much, but man, he gives you everything he's got, and I'm thrilled for him and his family, and just very well deserved.
You say he's a very quiet guy, and you've always said you're a relationship guy. So how did you kind of get him to open up more and more to you, especially at a time like this?
Yeah, it was one of the dinners in the spring that I did. He was part of a group of about 5 or 6 guys, and I actually remember kind of the way it started was, he was kind of sitting across from me, and I don't remember exactly who was all in there, but as dinner went, just hearing him open up a little bit more, and so bright, so intelligent, but just a man of few words. But it's just, and then obviously throughout the pregnancy and they had, and it's just, it's cool to watch these young men grow up. And he's certainly a guy that is a huge piece for us. And like I said, I'm thrilled for him.
Brian Todd Archer with ESPN. Are ball skills something that he has that can't be taught a little bit with some guys?
Yeah, he does have incredible ball skills, but I also think, Todd, he's got incredible instincts. His ability to study the game and his knowledge of the game for a young player, relatively young, are uncanny. Like his ability to read splits and anticipate routes and things like that. That usually happens when you're older. I always think of Stephon Gilmore, right? Like, those guys as they get older and they maybe lose a little bit of a step or something, they have to learn how to, read splits and things like that. But DaRon's just always had the ability to process things very quickly, and then he's certainly got elite change of direction and ball skills, which is why the interceptions and the pick sixes per se have happened. But another guy fits perfect in our defense. No house guest. He's got flexibility. He can play nickel. He can play the boundary corner because he's so physical against the run, and key piece for the Dallas Cowboys.
You re-signed Jake. You've now signed him, and Tyler's in discussions as well. What's the importance of keeping these guys? Well,
again, we're a draft and develop team. We want to draft guys. We want to develop them. We've shown that we, have a great history here long before I got here of drafting players and developing them. And I think the cool thing when you look at the guys that you do that with is usually they don't change. Fergie hasn't changed a bit. He's still the enforcer that he likes to be, and half-bit crazy all the time, which is awesome. I love being around him. And DaRon's not going to change, So I think anytime you can draft these guys, develop them, and then get them into a second contract, it's good to see, and you're thrilled for them and their family.
John Machota with The Athletic. Just on the cornerback position in general, how you feeling about it right now? Obviously knowing that you're getting Diggs back at some time in the near future, and then obviously having DaRon signed. Yeah, feel good. We've talked about there's help on the way, and I think Trayvon got through the other day. Awesome. He's been working his ass off, getting ready to go for this game. We'll see how he does today, but I feel good about it. I think, we've got some flexibility. Kyrie's playing well, getting DaRon back. Certainly we made some moves at, final cut down, with Triquez and, Reedy, but I feel good. And again, I'm excited about that group because, again, we're getting healthy at the right time, and I think that matters. And then what are your expectations today for Kenny Clark?
Yeah, again, Kenny was through the walkthrough, did all the things we're doing in the walkthrough. I think, again, he's been practicing. It's not like he hasn't been practicing, so he's in great shape. He's ready to go. His body feels good, and it's going to be fun to see him out there in pads.
Nick Harris, Forward Star Telegram. What would you say is DaRon Bland's leadership style, since he is more of the quiet guy? Is it by example? Does he have guys that listen to him?
Yeah, I think, he's definitely a leader by example, but, I see him teaching guys. I see him grabbing guys. He just does it his own way, but he's definitely a leader by example. The way he works, the way he practices, the way he runs to the ball, the way he, attacks meetings and things like that, he totally is a leader by example. And that's what I love about leadership. There's all different kinds of ways to do it, right? And I think, that's why I think what we're trying to build here is so special because you've got different personalities. You've got guys that are quiet leaders. You've got guys that are leading by example. I'll transition a little bit and talk about. We just named our captains this morning. I was planning on having 4. That was kind of the goal, but the guys clearly spoke, and so we will have 6 captains in 2025. On defense, we'll have Osa and Donovan Wilson. On offense, we'll have Dak Prescott, CD. Special teams, we'll have Aubrey and CJ. And there'll still be a captain of the week, not this first week, but there'll still be a captain of the week. But, you look at those guys, and their leadership comes in all different, forms. And that's what I like. But, again, like I said, I was blown away. People asked me about the leadership of this football team. The guys made it very clear. Hey, Shotty, 4 is not enough. And so the way the voting came in, it was really close, and it'll be cool for those guys to have the C's on their jersey.
And then you have the big trade on Thursday, but you have to quickly roll into week 1. How have you kind of seen the team take the next step and move on and really put all the focus on Thursday?
Yeah, Bonus Monday was good for us the other day, whatever the heck day that was, just to get them in and get them moving again after 3 days off. And they came in today, had great juice, great energy in the meeting, and excited about our Wednesday prep. This is what we call Competition Wednesday, and there'll be a winner and a loser and everything that we compete at, and bags and practice and competitive. We got a red zone period that we'll do competitively, and the guys were dialed in and excited to go and ready to kick off the season.
Tom.
Tommy Arsh, DallasCowboys.com. Brian, with DaRon, how valuable is the ability for him to play outside and in, especially considering how much the nickel corner spots kind of changed over the years?
Yeah, it's huge. I think number one, it gives us the versatility and the multiplicity that we want, where we can change up different personnel groupings. And from a play caller, that can be really hard because there's certain times you're like, well, where is he? Teams have done that for a long time with Jalen Ramsey. He's outside, he's inside, he travels, he doesn't travel. So I think that's so powerful for us. But it's not even that. It's like he's good at both, which is really cool. Sometimes guys they're really good outside corners. They're okay nickels. He's not. He's really good inside. He proved that as a rookie. He's proved that this year. And he's also really good on the outside covering guys. So I think that's just a huge, huge benefit for us. And he's a good blitzer. He's a good tackler. The coverage skills speak for themselves. And like I said, it's invaluable.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. Obviously, you have long-term ambitions here as a coach. What does it do for you when you're able to lock up a guy long-term and you find that this guy is in your team's plans for a while? Yeah,
again, I think this team's going to be defined by more than just one person. We talked about that the other day. It's going to take the whole team and all 53 plus 69 total. And but again, I'm just happy for DaRon. I just think it's a guy that's worked incredibly hard, and here he is, fifth or fifth round draft pick, fifth. Thank you, and to come in and to shoot onto the scene and play the way he did, and you don't announce it to the guys until it's signed, and so they'll all know, but we'll make a big deal about it tomorrow, just like we did with Ferg.
And then Tyler Smith, that's a guy who's obviously progressed pretty well in his career so far. What have you seen from him just from a day-to-day basis, and what are your ambitions for him going into this year specifically? Yeah, well, again, I think the guy's an all-pro guard. I think he's incredible talent. Another one of those guys, draft and develop. Here's a guy who played tackle at Tulsa, comes in here, he's a tackle. Then, okay, let's move you to guard. And the power that he possesses is crazy. What I love about Tyler is he hasn't checked up one day. He's probably one of our hardest practice players that we have. And he's not missed a beat, has not said a word. I think that's one of the things that you respect about him is just a competitor. And but yeah, what a talent, And so hopefully he's the next one that is able to get done.
Saudi's The Athletic. Brian, obviously Micah was a unique talent with special abilities. He was thrust into becoming an edge after circumstances kind of warranted that. Do you see DeMarvion Overshown, when he comes back, having any of those same traits or abilities as an athlete to maybe rush the passer more and change from a linebacker to that? Well,
obviously, Demo. There's not many things Demo can't do. He's really good at a lot of different things. He's very good blitzer. Now, playing on the edge is different side. I mean, it is a little bit different. You're blocking, going up against bigger men. Tackles are bigger, longer, stronger than sometimes getting matched up on backs. But I wouldn't bet against Demo. I'll reiterate what I said the other day. I think pass rush for us is one of our deepest positions that we have. You look at Sam and Donovan and Dante and Marshawn and James Houston. I mean, we're deep at that spot, but Demo can pretty much do anything, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention, my heart goes out to Leroy Jordan's family. I'm a football junkie, I'm a football nerd, and I grew up with a dad that, played kind of in that era, and, member of the Doomsday Defense. Just my heart goes out to his family.
Garrett
Podell, CBS Sports. Brian, when we see these contracts for cornerbacks, typically outside corners typically get paid a little more. Now that DaRon is paid, do you feel like, that maybe helps the ability to communicate to him and say, hey, we might need you to be inside because Kaiir Elam might be a little better outside or whatever? Do you feel like this contract kind of helps you be more versatile with him now going forward?
Well, we were going to be versatile with him no matter what, because that's the type of competitor that DaRon is. DaRon's never said, hey, I'm not going to play nickel or I'm not going to do this. He sees himself as an elite cover corner. I do too. He's freaking amazing. But again, we're going to move him around. It's got nothing to do with the contract. I mean, if the contract wasn't done, we would have moved him around as well. He's just a stud of a young man and a damn good football player that, again, I am so happy for.
Calvin.
Of your captains, Donovan Wilson seems to be similar to Bland, a very quiet guy. Did that surprise you, or did it tell you a little bit about what Donovan does behind the scenes a little bit?
Well, I think they look at his play style. There's an intensity with Dono. I love the guy. I love the guy. Like, when I go around and I talk to the guys before practice, Calvin, it's like, the handshake, the embrace, but the eye contact, is just different. I mean, the guy just loves football. And so that's why you let the players vote. I think the players got it right. There were more guys that were also deserving, but you're allowed 6-ish, and so the numbers were a little bit separated. But again, it speaks to the leadership of our football team, and it's not just going to be those 6 guys that lead us. Tyler Smith's a leader on this football team. He wasn't named captain. He had a lot of votes, but he just came up a little short of those other guys. And Malik Hooker, I go on, Brian Anger. I can go on and on and on about the leadership of this football team, and we're going to need that. There's going to be adversity this season. No one's standing up here saying there's not going to be adversity. So when you have strong chemistry and connection, but also leadership, that's a huge advantage for a football team.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. Last year, you all kind of had the automatic third quarterback with the way the roster was set up with Trey. This year, it's a little different sort of decisions you'll have to make along those lines. How do you view that emergency quarterback? When, from my point of view, it kind of looks like a free roster spot on game day, but how do you see it?
Yeah, well, again, it's a tool that some people use. We obviously have a few guys. I'm not going to share with you right now who those guys would be in an emergency situation. You have guys that are prepared to play quarterback if it gets to that point. But, yeah, I mean, it does have its benefits. And I think at the end of the day, I think this is nothing new. Most teams get into a situation where they have to have somebody that's ready to do it. It's been different places. It was our punter for us in Jacksonville. It wasn't McAfee, I don't think. We trusted Pat. Sorry, Pat. I know you're probably watching this. But yeah, it's different guys. And so we have a few guys, and again, the menu will be a little smaller than what the call sheet would normally look like. But we have guys that we feel like could go out there and at least execute some of the things we're trying to do.
With reps so important for starting quarterbacks, how do you kind of see third quarterbacks and beyond in terms of quarterback development? What's your kind of overall view of quarterback development in the NFL?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm going to go back, Skyler, because I think I've talked about this before. When you have 3, it's hard. Your starter needs a lot, and even Dak wants a lot, especially when you're doing early looks early in the week, like a day like today. He's going to want most of those, if not all of those, and we'll get those. But you got to try to get the other 2 some reps. But Rich Gannon was a guy that I remember. He was kind of the backup. He didn't need a lot of reps, but he always wanted those third down blitz reps because that was the closest thing that he could get to game reps, the feel of third down blitzes and guys coming from, the posts and off the edges and corners and hot responsibilities and things like that. So you'll watch Joe and those guys and Will, when they're not in there, they're kind of behind shadowing. And that's a big part of it. And then as soon as practice ends, Steve Shimko will take Will and those guys, and they'll go and basically any ball that Dak throws, they'll call the play and they'll spot throw that. And so they can get through. We started it 2004 or 5, I guess, with Phillip Rivers is when we first started doing it. So you can they call the play and then you're ripping throws. So if he throws the comeback over here, he throws the comeback. Then he threw a slant over here, he throws a slant. So they're getting their throws, they're getting their footwork. It's not perfect, but they are getting the work and the throws that they need.
What are your expectations for captains?
Yeah. Be the guys to the forefront that lead us, be the guys that are communicating, be authentic. I think that's a huge thing for me. Be authentic. Lead the way you want to lead. But again, they will. Certainly, my door is always open for anybody. You don't just have to be a captain. But I would hope that if there was an issue that maybe didn't make it to me, that one of those 6 guys would certainly bring it to me. Hey, we're having a little issue here that you probably need to address. That would be expected of them. And for the most part, it's just help with the connection and the chemistry that we're working with.
And then Calvin kind of mentioned it with Wilson, CD as well. You've talked about his growth. Can you revisit that? Like when you first were around him as your consultant year, did you ever think, oh yeah, I can see him being a captain one day?
I really could, just because of his love for the game. The passion and the way he plays the game, I think, Todd, is incredible. But CD's been different. I think, back this year, it started not just with the GP thing, but again, I think, last year missing training camp, reminded him how much he loves football. I was actually not surprised by that one. I was actually not surprised at all that CD got as many votes as he did, because he's a great player, but he's one of our best practice players. And again, you see him doing being much more intentional, I would say, in terms of leadership, talking to younger guys and things like that. And, for me, it's just been fun to watch him grow into that. And I think he's truly just getting started.
Brad
Sham, Cowboys Radio 105 through the fan. Because you make such a point of knowing your players as people, what do you suppose you would do if this vote came back and they'd elected a captain about whom you thought, oh, no way in hell?
Well, I would have named him captain. The players speak. I mean, like I said, I wanted 4. They said, when you looked at the numbers, Brad, they said, no, it's not 4, it's 6. They see something. They might have seen something different than I did, but I trust the guys, and I know them, and I know that they're going to vote with their hearts. They're going to vote for truly who they believe will lead us, and be resilient and be disciplined to work every day and do the things they're supposed to do. So you saw me. I didn't bat an eye. I'd name them.
Nick.
When DaRon Bland was coming out, I'm not sure how much you were a part of those draft day conversations, but do you remember anything about that? And if not, okay, then
I don't.
When was the first time you saw the dog in him, the intention of him to where he could be thrown into a starting role rookie year and then first team All-Pro?
He enters as I was up in the box with DQ. I can't remember. I think we were playing the Giants, I think, and he was playing nickel, and they ran a little stop route kind of in between the hash with the tight end, and he was playing like a cover 2 look, and he read the quarterback's eyes, and he squeezed the tight end on the hook just inside the deal and picked it off. It's an incredible play because it was a bang play, and I remember just up in the box watching and seeing the quick twitch and the ability to close a seam like he did, but also it was a contested like the tight end was reaching like this, and he came in and scooped it and stole it from him. And I remember going, damn, that was a hell of a play. And he did it a lot in practice as well, but that was the first time. I think it was the Giants. It was an interception that he came with. I think it might have been his first one of his career. But it was kind of a wild play.
We know how you feel about Dak as a leader and everything else. How does the Micah trade change how you lean on him for messaging and everything else to sort of push this team forward?
Yeah, I don't, nothing changes. I think, Dak doesn't need to be the only leader we have. The guys have just, identified a bunch of other guys. Dak needs to play quarterback. And Dak needs to try to lead the league in wins. That's what we're trying to do. If we can lead the league in wins, the leadership ability is there. For sure. But, again, we're strongest when we have all of our guys. I think Kenny Clark's going to be a leader at some point. He's just a new face, and again, the more I get to know him and the more the guys get to know him, I think, he's going to be seen as a leader. I think, Jake Ferguson's another guy, got a bunch of votes, but when it's spread out the way it is, it makes you go, yes, we have the right type of guys, and they will pull on you. And it's going to take different guys to speak up, because there's going to be some days when the offense plays well and the defense does. There's going to be other days where the defense is amazing and we shit the bed, and it's going to take guys willing to step up, be accountable, say, hey, we need to be better, because at the end of the day, this is the ultimate team game, and I'm thrilled to have the type of leaders that we have in that locker room.
We know this is a business, obviously. Do you think fans, maybe even us in the media, forget about, when you mentioned CD, how much they, especially in his case, how much he missed the game? Because he wanted to play, but the business kind of got in the way of that.
Yeah, I think, this is the greatest game in the world. You start playing this game when you're 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. I mean, I used to play literally flag football and backyard, football, and you just love it, and you don't care. You don't care who you play with, where we playing in the street, we playing in the field, we playing at the park, where we playing. But you just love the game, and these guys, they don't feel different. They still love stepping out between the white lines. They still love going into that huddle and sometimes laughing and making jokes and sometimes screaming at each other. But the game is such a pure thing, man. And they just love it. And when it's taken away from you from time to time for different reasons, you mentioned business, it reminds you of how blessed we are to be able to do what we do.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.